Welcome to the Scum and Villainy podcast. This is Richard White, also known as Kelvin Tiberius. I am joined by Greg Duncan, also known as Joy and Vengeance, and the one, the only, Mr. Froggy's Scott Williams, Galactic Holonet. I know you've missed us, but we're back, baby. Gentlemen, how you guys doing?
Doing fantastic tonight, Richard. Ready to talk about some new subjects. I did miss doing the podcast. It's taken us a little while to get this one organized and going again. I am definitely ready to get back into it.
Yeah, I'm totally ready to get back into this too.
I'm going to go ahead and blame Greg for everything, right?
That's fine. My work schedule has been crazy, and life being what it is. Unfortunately, I can't just X-Wing all the time with all of my time. So
I'm going to go ahead and speak for the internet in that the Galactic Holonet doesn't care about your scheduling problems.
I know.
We need
right.
you. We need you.
Need me
The
to be
Holonet
more
needs
committed
you.
to the cause.
Yes, absolutely. You need to take out the... Wait a second. You're the Empire. So you need to take out the terrorists, Greg. The terrorists win when you don't podcast.
Yep, we're
Damn
winning.
Terrorist.
We're winning.
Damn terrorists. I'll have to explain it to... the family that I'm letting the Empire down.
Yeah.
You are.
Shame on you.
We have an absolute ton to cover. Lots of fun stuff out. We've got new ships out. We've got a new Wave 4 we've got to talk about. We've got to talk about the Galactic Cup. It's just so much. I'm so excited. Let's dive into Wave 5. Does that sound good?
Yeah, I think we should definitely talk about new stuff.
Yeah.
Wave 5. 2 ships. How do we feel about the fact that it's only 2 ships?
Well, I think I feel a whole lot better when we start talking about which 2 ships they are. I think some much-needed gifts are being granted to both sides.
Well, since you spoke up first, we'll give the Empire its due. The VT-49 Decimator expansion pack. This ship has 3 attack dice, 0 agility, 12 hull, 4 shields. I'm not sure what the least expensive is going to cost, but the most expensive... The Rear Admiral, how do we pronounce his last name? I know it's French.
I don't know.
Girano.
Girardo. Yeah, 46 points, so pretty darn expensive. It's a turret ship. It's got 3 crew. We've got the ability to run a lot of different stuff on it. What do we think about the Decimator?
Well... Speaking for the Empire, going ahead and chiming in, I say hallelujah to finally having a 360-degree firing arc on the Imperial side of life. I think it is a much needed bit of utility that the Empire has overall lacked, especially with the advent of some of the more maneuverable ships that the Rebellion side is getting. It's nice to have the 360 arcs to counteract that. I know I've whined about having a lack of turrets on the Imperial side before, so I'm extremely happy about that fact. The expense, I think, is going to be a bit of a burden to bear. As much as I'm excited about the Decimator, I'm really interested in a lot of the crew cards that come with it and how they can work on even other ships in the fleet as well.
Well, which ones are you excited about?
Particularly Fleet Officer and Mara Jade strike me as being incredibly useful.
Mara Jade is just going to be awesome. I mean, especially on that ship, being able to stress everybody within range 1 of a big base ship is just...
Very, very potent. And it looks like, looking at the exposure of the dial, I know we only get the 1 maneuver, but it can't be a bad sign that the 1 maneuver we see is a 2 green bank on a large ship. You're going to be able to achieve range 1 with more reasonable maneuvers. So if you're stressed, you can still take a fairly decent maneuver in a turn with it as well. So getting that range 1 won't be quite as difficult, it doesn't seem like.
Think about it this way. There are 3 of the Decimators have that elite pilot talent. And let's not all chime in at once. What's the best elite pilot talent for a large base ship?
Expert handling.
Getting into range 1 is not going to be difficult for any of these ships.
Yeah, not at all. Not even in the least. The other thing I was interested in, Fleet Officer specifically, I'm curious about Fleet Officer on shuttles. Being able to take that action and hand out focuses seems like it could be really interesting for other squad options.
Yeah, it's going to be... This ship is going to really shake things up. I'm kind of curious about the low-end pilot, and I wonder how cheap it is just to make it with Vader. And make it like a Doom Decimator.
How cheap do you think it's going to be?
Well, if you look at like the Outer Rim Smuggler, it's 27. I might say this might go like 32, 33 in that range, like a bounty hunter.
I have a hard time seeing it go quite that low. So with the ORS comparison, it's hard to draw because the ORS has a significant stat loss compared to the
that's true.
YTs. I think the lowest we'll see it go is 38 or 39 points.
But man, Vader on a 360, just always being able to do damage.
And Gunner. Vader and Gunner. Bye, Phantom.
Yep.
Yeah, you're going to do a ton of damage. The one thing that concerns me with this ship is the 0 agility. So getting into range 1 may not be an issue, but surviving the onslaught of other ships shooting at you at range 1, that might be difficult.
I agree. I will say this much. It does look like, I'm going to make a guess and say that its title grants it the ability to take an evade action somehow. If you look at the picture on Fantasy Flight's announcement for it, it looks like the ship comes with an evade token.
Yeah, but the defender came with an evade token, yet,
Yeah.
So...
What's the enhanced tool teach us? Do we have anything?
No, I haven't really. I've been too busy.
You guys are both the Galactic Holonet needs you, Mr. Froggies. It needs you. It needs Greg. It needs you. What is wrong with you, gentlemen? Come on, we need you.
I'm running 2 tournaments. That's what I'm doing.
The biggest call I can make on here is it looks like we're going to get Asani Iceheart as a crew member.
Iceheart's revenge right now.
Yes.
Which is pretty cool. I'm kind of geeking out about that. And it looks like at the start of some kind of phase, she gets to do something. So it's probably going to be another bit of utility. It looks like there's a lot of utility coming in from the crew members in this pack. So those are going to change up the landscape.
3 crew members. 3.
Yeah.
Yep.
What were the combos? Yeah, what are the combos?
I don't even know yet. And the thing is, it's like, as the game progresses, the combos are just gonna get crazy what you can do.
Gunner and Tactician could work very well together. If you actually miss one of your shots, you could drop stress
with
on 2 targets.
Handling too.
Yeah. There's definitely some interesting combos on there. And I think even on the Rebel side, we're going to see a lot more crew expansion coming out with the ship that releases here as well.
Yes.
The second ship, Scott, I'm going to go ahead. We've all known it was coming,
yeah,
but it's out. The YT-2400. Why don't you tell us about it, Scott?
And yeah, this ship looks awesome. It's got good stats. Not the best attack, but we'll get to that later. So 2 attack, 2 defense, 5 hull, 5 shields. So it's basically kind of built like a bounty hunter for the most part, only not quite as good as an attack. Another 360,
but 360 arc,
a 360 degree arc, which is nice. And then you get the Outrider title, which is just crazy. You get to, instead of using your regular gun, you can use a cannon, which I just think is going to be crazy.
Then that costs you, though.
Yes, but I'm sorry. I forgot, like, the most important part of this ship, in my opinion, is the built-in barrel roll function on this ship. It comes with barrel roll as a standard action. So
who needs expert handling?
No, now you get a big ship that you could spend your elite pilot talent on something other than expert handling, and now you can push the limit, and it makes sense. If you put engine and an engine upgrade on this
engine, push the limit. Oh,
now you're boosting and barrel rolling like an interceptor.
And we just talked about how useful barrel rolling is on the large base ships. You know, that whole cannon upgrade, being able to apply a cannon to your 360-degree arc. I know it's probably not going to be the best option here, but you've definitely got the auto blaster as a potential on there, and some people would worry about reaching that range 1 with that. But
or heavy laser cannon, too.
Heavy laser cannon can work the same way. You might worry, oh, well, what if they're in my range 1? Well, hey, you have this lovely barrel roll and possibly a push the limit and engine upgrade, so it should be pretty easy for you to be wherever you want to be.
Yeah.
Heck, ion cannon I'm even thinking about for Phantoms.
Yes. Ion cannon on the cheap one is going to be something, I think, with the title that's going to be interesting. I don't know if you'd want to put such a limited attack, such a limited offensive weapon on somebody like Dash Rendar, where you're really sinking a lot of points into that card.
Yeah.
Dash Rendar, man.
Yeah, so we have to talk about
cow.
Dash Rendar, honestly.
Yes.
Specifically with the idea that it says during your activation phase, you ignore obstacles. Is that the gist of it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he gives because in the EU he basically faked his death by going through just a massive amount of flak.
Yeah.
And so essentially that was he ignores asteroids. So he can boost barrel roll and ignore asteroids. I've seen people on the forums claiming that this is a noob ship because he can go through asteroids, but I think the exact opposite. I think that the best players will use that fact to make him, and use asteroid placement to make him
better,
incredibly good.
Yeah,
I kind of think it works both ways. I think it's going to be really easy for new players to pick this ship up and play, but to be really good, you're going to want to utilize his ability, and so I think it works in both cases. Good pilots who really understand how to make use of his ability are going to do really, really well.
I think he'll work well with kind of like what Richard is suggesting, and what you are. Good pilots and people that have good planning will get a boon out of his ability. Instead of it saving them from making poor decisions,
yes,
they'll be able to use their advanced asteroid placement planning. Because that's one of my favorite portions of the game. I believe that there is a whole separate little war that happens while you're placing asteroids and setting up your ship. That's a completely different dynamic of the actual X-Wing game. And sometimes, and so often, that changes everything about the way the game is played.
Yes.
I think Dash Rendar puts a whole new layer onto that and gives a big boon to the players that are excellent at psyching out and predicting their opponent's placement.
Yes, I totally agree with that. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to him. I think he's awesome. They keep giving me Rebel ships that I have to fly, and it's breaking my soul a little bit. And I'm doing so well with the Rebels lately, I can't even complain.
At this point, I have to almost consider you a Rebel player because of your. At this point, Greg,
I've been flying competitively a specific Rebel list for long enough now that I'm basically a Rebel player, and I've been doing well enough with it that I'm going to keep flying it,
Yeah, I have to confess I've been running a lot of Imperial builds lately.
What is the both of
I don't know. I feel guilty afterwards, if that's any.
I understand, Scott. I have the same problem. Hey, do you have a Rebel hat? Because I have an Imperial hat. Maybe we should trade. I could mail you my Rebel or my Imperial hat.
Okay. I'll send you something.
Surrender it in shame.
Let's talk about Dash Rendar with Push the Limit, Outrider and Heavy Laser Cannon, Engine Upgrade, and Kyle Katarn. Sure, it costs 11 trillion points, but we now have Soontir Fel. We have Fat Soontir Fel.
We do essentially have Fat Soontir Fel with a 360 arc, so even easier to escape your opponent's shots and not care.
Yeah, because you don't have to point at anybody. You just have to dodge arcs.
And Kyle Katarn gives you the focus. He gives you the focus just like Soontir gets.
True.
Yep.
Very true. The combo is devastating. What can you put with it is the question. You're talking about a single ship costing upwards of 55, 58 points, something like that.
58 points.
Yeah.
Well, just so happens that if you are feeling adventurous, you can run 2 rookies.
It does leave you with exactly enough for 2 rookies. It also leaves you... you can do 3 bandits with that. What is that?
You would not be able to do 3 bandits.
Yeah, you have 42 points. You can do 3 bandits.
You can do
That's
3 bandits.
36
Well, no,
points.
because the combination is push to limit, heavy laser cannon, outrider, engine, and Kyle Katarn. Gives you 58 points.
Yes.
Which leaves you with 42, which is enough for 3 bandits. And then
Can
some.
I do math?
Yeah.
You have enough
3
room. You have
bandits,
6 points left after that.
3 bandits is 36.
Yep.
You could do
you can't do
3
4.
Tala squadron.
Yeah. You could, and then you still have 3 points left. Whatever you would put it on, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's room for something else there. 42 points is also Chewie. Incidentally, it's a naked Chewie, but it's Chewie nonetheless. And that's with all of that beef going on Dash Rendar specifically. I mean, you scale it down to a not Dash Rendar. Next ship down, or maybe you sacrifice 1 or 2 options in there, and you get a little
All you
more.
need is the push. All you need is the push the limit. So
Push the limit
what
and
is
engine, I think, is really key on there.
Hopefully that PS5 YT2400 has the ability to do an elite pilot talent, and then if that's the case, then you've got a real good option there.
Yeah.
We got a new crew member with this
Expansion.
with expansion words. Thank you. Lando Calrissian, 3 points. Rolled 2 defense dice. By the way, this is one of the more perfect crew cards because of the gambler's nature.
I agree completely.
Roll 2 defense dice. For each focus result, you get a focus token to your ship. For each evade, you get an evade. You're getting a token on average most of the time. When you're getting a token on average, you get 2, I'd say, at least half the time, right? I don't know the odds. Major Juggler, tell us the odds on this. I know he listens to the podcast. Thank God we have him.
Yes.
I will have to say, Lando, I mean, this deal gets better all the time.
Is he better than C-3PO defensively?
He's different. I think he's different
I
because
think he's better for this ship.
Well, you're giving up an action. So if you're running on this ship,
That's a good point.
with push the limit, I think he's probably really good for this. With if you could spend an action here for Lando's ability and then barrel roll or target lock or whatever you want to use. But I hate giving up my 1 action for just a defensive an ability.
Very true.
Well,
is
actually, you
difficult.
get-
It is a focus, so potentially as well,
could
which
get
provides
focus.
offense.
It is both defensive and offensive.
Yes.
I mean, it's both.
Yep.
If you get
It's
It's a gamble, though. Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
so, it kind of if you're a gambler, this might be better. Yeah.
The amount of what
So
makes
I
me
have-
nervous is the amount of times I roll blank green dice, and I can just see that being a lot of nothing for that
Yeah.
crew card. For me personally, I'm not that fortunate. I don't tend to rely on. I'm not the gambler. I don't have the gambler's spirit.
You
That is not me.
you somehow managed to be probably the least lucky person with dice rolls I've ever seen in my entire life.
I have a talent.
Yeah, you have a
Yes.
certain set of skills. You have the ability
I have
to
a particular
roll
set of skills.
less hits and evades than a normal person would.
And somehow I still win. I don't know how it happens.
So, what do you guys think of this? The extra terrain that we're seeing.
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to ask.
I don't know what they're going to do with this. Are these new rules that they're going to bring up for gameplay? I kind of hope so.
I hope they're new asteroids. At a minimum, I hope I can replace these as asteroids. Like, when you know how in Epic you have the ability to place the ship in
Mm-hmm.
as an asteroid or in lieu of an asteroid or something like that. I hope that you can use those 3 asteroids to replace 3 asteroids in the list at a minimum, because I think that's interesting.
Yeah, I kind of hope so. I kind of hope that they use this.
That'd be interesting. It could also be more story campaign mission style stuff that they're showing off, because they've been key to show that off with the releases of the big ships. They've been very into the epic and cinematic gameplay formats, so they could be expanding down that line as well. Because I'm sure there's a decent collection of X-Wing players out there. I was talking about this with another local Kansas City player the other day. I'm sure there's a crowd of X-Wing players out there that loves the epic formats and the larger game types, and is probably very happy to see these larger ships. And I don't know if we even think about them, us being the competitive players that we are. So it could be some stuff for them as well.
Yeah. No, good point.
Well, this is all Wave 5, and it's on the printer, and we're looking forward to it, but that's the future. Let's talk about the now and currently what's kind of going through the big news. There's something, I don't know if you've heard of it, something called the Galactic Cup. It's a tournament that had how many people, Scott?
144.
144 X-Wing players participated, and now we are down to 32 players, if I'm right. Probably less at the time of you all listening, but it's been pretty exciting, and it's been, every good player I can think of has been involved, and it's been pretty darn awesome so far. I'd say it's a rousing success, and our own Mr. Froggies is running it. Frog, tell us about the Galactic Cup. What's going on? Give us the hot scoop.
So it's been going really well. We finished the division rounds just a little while back, and now we're in the top 32. There's been a lot of great games. There was an upset. Paul Heaver lost his game the other day.
I heard about that to David, although, here's the thing. At this point, nothing's an upset when I read these. Like, David's a hell of a player.
Yeah, David's a good player. Although, after this, because I play with him locally, I don't think I'm ever going to hear the end of it. He's gonna talk about how he beat Paul a lot. So I'm gearing up for that.
But I think in general you're allowed to gloat when you beat one of the world's players.
Yeah,
David's a gloater.
No, I know. I'm
no, not him.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. But there's a lot of just great players who are in, and good players who are dropping, and it's anybody's game at this point. It's hard for me to even predict a winner or who's likely to pull this thing out, because I look at just going down the line. There's just so many good players. There's Dom Fumatu, who's just super good.
We're going to talk about Dom.
Yes, we'll talk about him. Tex, who is now I'm spacing, Dallas Parker, who came in second at Worlds. He's in it. There's just solid players on down the line. Dearest won the other day against Fildo.
And you're dealing with elimination at this point in those rounds, so that's going to thin itself out very quickly.
Yeah, probably by the time the cast goes live, we'll be at the top 16, and there's only, I think, 4 games left to play. 3 games left at this point.
So if that's the case right now, can you give us the rundown on who's still in it?
Yes, so there's Inez. He's the Mexican national champion. There's Starslinger 72. And let's see, Morgan is good. Dodo won his match over Veldrin, and both of those guys are really good.
I don't even want to talk about Veldrin. I'm still kind of bitter about that.
Why? What happened?
My Soontiering.
Oh, yes.
My epic Soontiering. My 5v1 Soontiering.
Yes. So.
Soontirfell!
Oh man, yeah, that was kind of brutal. Yeah, there's a lot of good players. Lyle or Sozin hasn't done his squad yet, or hasn't done his match.
Let's talk about him.
Yes.
Somehow, collectively, I'd say between the two of you, the weirdest thing, we have a mini kind of X-Wing Twitch following at this point because of Sozin. Sozin's been doing casts of the Galactic Cup games, and there's a little bit of a following.
Yes, it's been awesome. So Lyle has been doing these Twitch casts and commentating on games while they're happening, and it's been really good. It's really nice to see good X-Wing players talking about good X-Wing players, who are playing, who are making good moves and doing really fun commentary while the games are going on.
Well, and
he's also done pretty good about getting good players to commentate with him. It's good players talking about good players playing, and it's really interesting. For the HoloNet, he's been advertising both on Team Covenant and the FFG forums when he's going to cast, and so keep your eyes out in those locations if you want to see when he's going to cast and to kind of pay attention to watching some of the best X-Wing players play. I mean, it's really a good opportunity if you want to see someone good play, get on and watch. I mean, there's a lot of good moves being made.
Yeah,
well, and here's the deal. For those of you that don't know about Twitch or don't use Twitch, Twitch is a big online service for basically publicly broadcasting games of any sort. Really live casting in general with video. The big deal with Twitch is that even if you don't catch him at the specific time and listen to it live, Twitch keeps an archive for you. So if you were to just go on Twitch TV and try and find probably Sozin or look up his channel on there and find X-Wing, you can watch things that have already happened. And speaking of good players talking about other good players, you gain a different element of, I'm going to say, information when you watch and you have someone to walk you through what's going through the minds of the other players. It's a whole different layer of, I guess, tactics at that point in time, and it's interesting to see that discussed as it actually happens versus what we do here a lot, where it's in the abstract. It's much more supported when you have a visual reference.
Well, we have the opportunity very soon to adjust that. Sozin's invited us to comment on those matches when we get the opportunity to. We almost did yesterday, but unfortunately that fell through and he wasn't able to. But I know that the three of us are all planning to at some point try and get on and comment. I know you and I, Greg, were going to do it yesterday.
Yeah, I was ready to rock.
I can't wait.
Yeah, me either. It's going to be a lot of fun to do that. I like live casting and calling games in general because, who doesn't sit there and watch an X-Wing game on the sidelines and have 1,000 thoughts to share about what the people are doing?
Mm-hmm.
We're all sideline
players.
I
totally would have done this move. I would have done this move. Gosh, why didn't he do that?
Absolutely.
Yes,
I mean, it happened in my league game earlier today. I mean, we all sat on and critiqued each other's moves as the game went down. It was the way we wanted to do things.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, Galactic Cup, we're going to be in the top 16 soon. Let's talk about this for a second. Who's your favorite, Scott? I mean, who do you think's going to win? I mean, I hate to put you on the spot, but I know who I think's going to win. Who do you think's going to win?
Well, I'm going to say who I think is going to, or who I'd like to have win, but I don't. I mean, who knows? I'm kind of rooting for theorists on this one.
He's such a good player. He really is.
He's had a lot of heartbreaks in some of the other tournaments, so I'd like to see him push through and make it.
He's always in it too, isn't he?
Yeah, he's always been in the top brackets. He just hasn't had a chance to make the final table. I'd really like to just see him get at least that far, and then, let the chips fall where they may.
One thing I want to see, and I think we should start an online petition of a theorist, please come to Worlds petition.
Yeah.
I want to start an online petition and just send it to Jeff and be like, Jeff, the world wants you to go. For the love of God, go to Worlds so, you can actually play on a table with the best players. Because I feel like the theorist... I'm not sure if theorist is actually real. And I have emailed him. I've spoken to him online. But as far as I know, he's an FFG bot built to show people like weird movements and weird. I'm pretty sure he's actually a robot. So I hope we can get him to come and see other people that play X-Wing. That's a goal of mine. But I don't disagree. Theorist deserves to win something big because he's definitely earned it. He's definitely one of the best players in the world.
Yeah. Greg, who do you think?
Well, honestly, I could say that I'd like to see Theorist win too, because I just like the way he flies. He does this weird thing where he flies stuff that for some reason no one else can fly, but he thought of it, and it's a little strange, and he knows exactly what to do with it, and it tends to work.
Yeah.
But we talked about a list earlier that is just kind of blown my mind, and that's Dom's list, Fumatu, and I think that list can just crush
Dom
everything.
is going to win. I want Theorist to win. I think Dom's going to do it. That list is sick.
Yes.
Yeah, I want to go into the details of that list later on in this podcast, so we will talk about that later on. But I believe that the list that he's running can just absolutely lean on just about any other list until it's gone.
Yep.
So
that's my choice for it, honestly.
We'll get into specifically Dom's list, and God, it's so mean. But I want to talk about something that's meaner. Wave 4's out.
Yep.
And there's one thing. So Wave 4 is out, and I was expecting, more lists, more awesome things to try, all of this, more. Just we have more ships. Let's try more lists, and there's all of more. Right, every single wave has brought us more potent ways to win, and I feel like in Wave 4, the amount of viable lists have actually shrunk due to the Phantom, and now I think we're going to put ourselves out here, or at least I will, in the sense that, man, there's a massive online argument happening on the HoloNet as to whether the Phantom is breaking the meta or not. Because for every person that says, man, the Phantom's broken, there's another that says, just fly better, bro.
Yeah, the Phantom, is it broken, is it not broken?
Yes,
it's broken.
It's broken in the sense that it's forcing everybody to fly a certain way.
I think ACD is broken.
I think ACD is broken. Advanced Cloaking Device is a little bit broken.
Let's talk about the card.
Do we want to talk about things that are bannable? So ACD, when you fire on something, you get to take a cloak action after the attack. Cloaking, for those of you that don't know, normally when you take that action, if you're cloaked in possession of a cloak token, you can't fire. So Advanced Cloaking Device fixes that. It fixes it for a price. It's 4 points. But it fixes that dilemma, especially on the higher pilot skill Phantoms like Echo and Whisper.
Yeah.
So I don't know if the Phantom by itself is broken. I think Echo and Whisper with Advanced Cloaking Device and things like Veteran Instincts is a little bit broken. It's not broken in the sense that it's unkillable. It's broken in the sense that it forces a severe restriction to list building. You have to build every list with the potential of dealing with the Phantom.
But bro, you can just run X, Y, or Z. Why don't you just do that?
Because if you don't have a turret, the Phantom's just never going to get shot.
Yeah, you're just going to get crushed by it. It's so brutal. It's a brutal ship.
I'll share a little story about the Phantom. It happened today. We just started our Kansas City X-Wing League tournament, and it's an elimination. I flew against another pilot today, and he was flying a Defender, a Colonel Vesseray, Echo with veteran instincts, advanced sensors, and advanced cloaking device, and an Omicron group pilot with ST-321. Basically, the Omicron group and Vesseray did target lock fun and advanced sensors. And basically, the Omicron and Vesseray did target lock fun using ST-321 to always give Colonel Vesseray his target lock bonus from his innate pilot skill. And Echo, he could have flown Echo better, but Echo, even though I got lots of shots on Echo, I mean, I put him under the arc of the first round of shots I had on him was a range 2 from my ORS with Gunner, was a range 2 from an X-Wing with focus, and a range 3 from a B-Wing with focus. He fired on my ORS, hit it a little bit, took its shields away, I think, and then proceeded to take no damage from those shots because of advanced cloaking device.
Yeah.
So, and that's Gunner included, which normally Gunner kind of gives you that guaranteed 1 damage, but no. I probably took a grand total of 12 to 13 shots on that ship before it finally died.
Yeah, it's brutal. It's brutal. And I think that's really great flying that you did to get 12 to 13 shots on it.
It was incredibly difficult. I basically had to commit my entire force to putting as many firing arcs along the potential paths of the Phantom as humanly possible. And I used the ORS as sort of a mobile deterrent. The ORS actually did the most damage to him. He put 3 damage on him, but an X-Wing killed him. But he finally, once I hit him once with the ORS, he finally realized that he couldn't just stay in range of that thing without shooting the hell out of it at the same time. So that sort of changed the way he flew and kind of forced him into barrel rolling into positions where my other ships were covering. And I was basically sacrificing shots on anything but the Phantom to try and get him locked down.
And that's brutal. That's so hard for a player to do, because to commit all your forces on that. If you don't succeed, and they kill, it's like as soon as you lose one of your ships, it's almost game over at that point, because you just can't.
With the Phantom, to me, it's a good player can play the Phantom well enough to where it is very difficult to counter. I mean, you have to go all out in countering that ship, and even then it's about a 50-50 shot of winning. It's such a good ship, and the advanced cloaking device is so good in the hands of a good player, right? The thing I keep seeing on the forums is, well, just wait till the good players figure it out. Well, I think the exact opposite of just wait till the good players figure out the Phantom, right? It's the argument goes both ways. The Phantom can get better because of how many weird options it has. The
Phantom has a steep learning curve. You know, I ran a triple Phantom build. Three of the
Sigmas?
Yeah, I think it's the Sigmas.
The pilot skill 3s or the Shadows or pilot skill 5?
The Shadows. The pilot skill 5s with, Tactician, fire control system, and the particle accelerator.
See, I love fire control system on the Phantom. That's one thing I never see anybody put on the thing. I think it's a great thing to put on the Phantom.
It's nasty. It's just nasty. You just do so much damage.
Target locking 4 dice is always awesome.
Yeah, target locking 4 dice, and you get a free evade. You know, it's which I consider just like a free shield. Even though you're not 4 with advanced cloaking device, you're still getting guaranteed, dodge.
Yep.
The thing about the Phantom to me is that its prevalence competitively, at least high-end, forces you to fly a list that either can deal with a Phantom or is a bigger Phantom.
Yeah.
And so the list of viable lists, right, has shrunk, right?
I think so.
You can't run you cannot run a 4-ship Rebel anymore unless you have
2 ion
like
cannon turrets or something,
or an
like 2
engine
turrets
or something, right? And there's so many lists that are so exciting and fun sounding that you can't run anymore. I came out with a 4-ship Rebel list, and you can't really run it. I mean, the list of viable lists have shrunk,
and it's disappointing because with the expansion, it feels like we got less to work with instead of getting more to work with.
Yeah, I have less things I can do now because of that Phantom.
I love my X-Wings, but they can't barrel roll. They can't boost. I don't know. It's like my wedge. I mean, a lot of my favorite pilots, I can't.
I don't think a TIE Swarm works. I don't.
Well, there's so many.
A 4-ship Rebel or 5-ship Rebel works.
It's so hard.
It doesn't. Hard. It definitely none of those. Look, can they beat it? Yes. You can catch it and get it cornered eventually, but it's not. There is no hard counter there. I still don't think it's even an even fight.
Yes.
Between the two.
Do you really want to play an Aaron Bonner with a Phantom? I don't want to.
No, not particularly.
That doesn't sound good at all.
Yeah.
No, don't want to do that.
Well, speaking of Aaron, I actually think the Rebel Convoy is a fairly decent idea for the current anti-Phantom meta.
I can agree with that. Anything that has 360 arcs and turrets is really the key. And the control. Ion cannons ruin a Phantom's day. Because not being able to reveal a dial takes away all of your decloaking nonsense, which is where 90% of its maneuverability comes from.
Am I wrong in thinking that... Guys, I got to be honest with you. I feel like I'm being held hostage by FFG. I feel like... No, for real. Let's think about this, right? Like, the Phantom is going to own this meta hard for the entire time the meta is around, and we have to wait until Wave 5 before we have the potential of playing regular list again, and I don't appreciate that.
We have to wait for Wave 5 before we get the hard counters for the Phantom, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly, and that's not okay. It's like there has never been a wave to where you had to completely change your list of builds against one ship. Even the
I think there was a worry that
even the
like if you look at the Interceptors had that sort of potential, but they're nowhere near as wily, I guess,
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
wily. If you look at the Phantom, it's got shields and it's a little tougher than an Interceptor. It's got this the cloaking just the crazy options.
The problem is it just doesn't. It's a super offensive ship with incredible maneuverability that is for some reason hard to kill too. Like, why is it so hard to kill? It's got a ton of offense. It's extremely maneuverable. It should be. Then by logic and considering balance, it should be easy to kill.
Interceptor?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why are you nigh impossible to kill? Why are you as hard to kill as a defender almost?
Here's a question I have for you guys. FFG has banned cards and ships before, or cards before. They've banned in Star Wars. They've banned in
Game of Thrones.
I don't think they've banned in Netrunner yet, but they've banned stuff before. Do you think that something in the Phantom needs a ban hammer?
I think ACD is probably... If I had to vote for something, it would be ACD.
Would you vote for it to be banned?
Probably. Honestly, I think it would balance out that's where the can't kill it comes in on the Phantom. is with advanced cloaking device, because it completely removes this deterrent of, oh, do I cloak because I need to be defensive right now, or do I attack because I need to attack right now? It completely removes that from an equation unless your opponent has higher pilot skill than you. That's the only counter to dealing with that. So I would say that card would put the Phantom in a position where, yes, it's still very playable. It's still worth its points. It's still 4 attack dice. It's still squirrely and really hard to get a hold of. Period. But it doesn't need to be nigh unhittable once you get a hold of it. You need to...
So you would ban that card?
I would, yeah, absolutely. Now, I will say on the end of banning, if I think FFG will, the big difference I see here is that ban list in tradable or collectible card games is very, very common, versus ban lists in miniatures games are not quite as common.
Yeah, it's not. I don't think it's going to happen.
I don't either.
It's just not going to happen.
Would you though, Scott?
No, I'm very much against that kind of thing, the banning of something. Even though I'm not happy with the Phantom, I don't like the idea of banning cards. Yeah, I don't like it.
I would ban it in a heartbeat. The amount of interest. Okay, the reason why I do this is for two reasons. One, I'm going to start with interest-wise when it comes to lists. More lists can be flown with the advanced cloaking device ban than without. More lists can be flown in a tournament competitively with that card gone, because with the card in there, you have to deal with the Phantom, and you have to be able to kill a Phantom. So, if there's more, variety, it's more interesting, and it makes for a better tournament. Second, business-wise, if only so many lists can be competitively run in a tournament, I don't think it's good for FFG's business. I feel like if they want to run a good business plan, they need to promote as many options tournament-wise as possible. And to limit those options with that card, they are hurting their own business by not banning it. And
I don't know. To the second point, I don't know if that's entirely true, because you also mentioned feeling like you were a little bit being held hostage by the Phantom for Wave 5. Look at that. If you want to talk about a business model, like they're going to... Okay, so here's Phantom. The competitive players are going to buy it. The new players don't know yet, so they're going to buy everything. The competitive players now have to buy Wave 5 so that we have better counters for the Phantom. So I think it's going to work out okay for them, honestly, on that end. But I agree completely on the fun factor and the more viable lists. Because the deal is without advanced cloaking device, the Phantom is no longer nigh impossible to kill when you do get a hold of it.
Yeah.
And that's really the thing, is that, even without it, the ship is going to be nigh impossible to get arcs on without turrets. It's really hard to lock one of those things down if it's flown by a competent, and God help you if it's flown by an excellent player.
I feel like the biggest counter to the Phantom is a bad Phantom player.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it has a steep learning curve. It's not an easy ship to fly.
You really can't pick it up and just go with it. Even with advanced cloaking device, you can get smoked if you put yourself in the wrong spot, or you screw up and you don't get your cloak action, you don't get a shot right.
It's not an auto-win ship if you don't fly it right.
But once you learn to fly it, it's so bad.
It's so good. Echo can just straight strafe people.
Yep.
Yeah.
Echo can occupy the same two-ship base square for like an infinite amount of time between barrel rolling backwards, barrel rolling during his action, and his actual move. He can just sit in the same area over and over again behind a ship. I had Joe, my freaking brother-in-law, played Echo against one of my lists that has an oars in it, and he probably sat behind that oars for 2 or 3 turns, just shooting away at it at range 1 on the same corner as I moved the oars around, and Echo is just so good at being wherever he wants to be, he just always had a shot right there, range 1.
Yeah. That's brutal.
If it hadn't been a turret ship, I never would have survived getting any damage out on that Phantom. If it had been a single ship, like, that shit has to move forward. Echo can just not move. He can basically just occupy the same space for several turns in a row through creative barrel rolling and creative decloaking and just light you up with 5 attack dice from behind you.
Yeah.
And then, oh, you K-turn this round? Oh, well, I guess I'll just barrel roll way the heck over here and fly away from you. Or, I'll just come right at you and K-turn over here, and now I'm still out of your arc and shooting you again. Yay!
It's just crazy.
It's like I'm unkillable and untouchable.
It's crazy. It's crazy what you can do with that ship. Yeah. It's just crazy.
Decloak forward, 2 bank, you know?
Yeah.
And then you unleash a freaking K-turn. Okay, here you go. Oh, no actions. I still have 4 attack dice. Who cares?
Yeah.
All right, so we've got a lot of new, and none of us like the Phantom, but
I wish
we're
I
going to deal with the new wave, and let's kind of examine a list that is not a new wave list, but is incredibly potent and is kind of tearing its way through the Galactic Cup, and may have a counter to the Phantom. We're going to talk about Dom's list in the Galactic Cup. He likes to call it the Alabaster Hippo Ballet. Scott, you've been watching this list as much as anybody. Tell us about this list and what's going on with it.
Okay, so here's his squad. He has Soontir with Push the Limit. And then he has 3 Omicron group pilots. 2 of them have fire control systems, and 1 of them has Vader. So you've got 3 shuttles and Soontir. And basically how Dom's been flying this list is the shuttles just come at you at multiple angles. So this lets him kind of maneuver his guys around to keep shooting at you, and he takes up so much space. You know, you're losing your actions a lot of the time, and you just can't shoot through 30 hull and shields, or 30 hull worth of ships too quickly, and he just lights you up. In most of his games he's only lost maybe 1 or 2 shuttles at most.
Yeah, and the thing is here, even if you do manage to chew through those shuttles, Soontir Fell's not exactly easy to kill.
Yeah, it's gross. And, Vader is there for those times when you're like, okay, well, I really want that ship dead. He's gone. I got that guaranteed damage, and but most of the time the Omicron groups are just shooting at different ships, lowering them down, and then Soontir plays cleanup.
Speaking of cleanup, I really like his positioning pilot skill-wise on the ship that he puts Vader on, because I really like to have Vader. I mean, with this list, he kind of has Vader whenever he wants that crit to go in, so it's good that he can pick it. But I really like to be able to use the Vader crew card late in my firing round, because it gives you the most chance to strip away those shields and have that crit actually go to the ship's hull and do something devastating.
Yeah, so now he's got Soontir and then 2 other Omicrons who are to shoot before the Vader shuttle.
Really, yeah. I mean, you've got,
and they have target lock because of fire control.
Exactly. Yeah. You've got 12 dice happening before that Vader crit. You're stripping the shields off of anything in the game with that.
Yeah, you're doing a ton of damage. And
your first Vader crit, if you get all your shots, your first Vader crit's likely going to hit hull, and that's very good.
I've played this list, and it is just so hard to kill a shuttle quickly before it fires back and just decimates you. It's such a good list, and he does such a good job of managing firing arcs for those 3 shuttles, to where he is going to have a firing arc on you, and he's going to continue to shoot you the entire time, and he avoids Soontir Fel, and they keep Soontir Fel very safe. basically just daring you to try and eat through shuttles until it's time for Soontir to go in and kill. He is... Dom obviously won the last Vassal tournament. I think he's going to win this one.
I think he can with that list. That list is super strong in the meta because you don't have any Wave 4 in the Galactic Cup. So in that meta, that list is incredibly strong.
How does this deal with Wave 4?
Well, you got to look at 3 shuttle bases. That's a lot of real estate that it's covering, which can be tricky for a Phantom. And
sure.
And anytime you got Vader on there, I don't care if you've got 4 defense.
You get one shot in with that shuttle.
I'm going to hit you. And now you got Soontir.
And Soontir does a good job against Phantoms. He really should, especially if it's not specifically Whisper with VI and your opponent winning initiative.
If you've got Echo, it's great.
Yeah. So Soontir is actually, I think, a good kind of counter, because here's another hypermobile ship who's really strong. His innate ability is really good as a kind of counter.
He's high pilot skill, so he moves after the Phantom.
And you're really... Yeah.
I feel like Dom took a look at the Lambda and said that it was, wait a second, this is one of the most points efficient ships in the game. I'm going to go ahead and fly that then.
Yeah. And this squad is just really, really good. It's solid.
That is, yeah, I love that list. A list that I've been pretty excited about for Wave 4 is, I want to win, so I've decided that I'm gonna fly Echo. I hate the Phantom, but I have to fly Echo.
But you have to win.
Yeah, I've got an issue with not winning, so I've got a list, an Imperial list that embraces the Phantom and its brokenness against other ships, and I've got a list that I've been flying recently that is Echo, Rebel Captive, Sensor Jammer, Veteran Instincts, and Advanced Cloaking Device, along with an Omicron Group Pilot, Fire Control System, Tactician, Gunner and Engine Upgrade. It's a version of a Buzzsaw shuttle, and 2 Academy pilots. And the idea is that Echo is at least protected from the whispers of the world with Rebel Captive, and that way, that Echo will be able to outmaneuver that Phantom because it won't have an action to, Advanced Cloaking Device again, because Advanced Cloaking Devices may be kind of sort of broken. And then it also has Advanced Cloaking Device itself. It'll protect itself against Gunner with Sensor Jammer.
Yep.
And it's got the ability to have ties and a shuttle to clean up and disable other ships along the way. What do you guys think?
What I like about this is that the disruption of the Academy pilots in this list will definitely help Echo as far as... You've got good control here. You've got a lot of stress release from Tactician, from Rebel Captive, and then you've got these blockers out here that'll also be causing issues with how your opponent flies. And one of the big things is if you have a Phantom out there, he might be a little bit of a glass cannon if somebody does get a hold of him, but you've got him very well protected. It's going to be hard for your opponent to move properly to lock down Echo.
With both Sensor Jammer, Rebel Captive, and ACD, it's really difficult to kill.
Yeah, well, exactly, and once you do lock him down, you're punished immediately for shooting him.
Yeah, Tactician is really nice. I think this is one of the areas that we didn't talk about when we were talking about the Phantom is stress. Stress is the other option to dealing with them. And so, you're having this stress mechanic in the list is going to help.
I agree completely.
Help you deal with other Phantoms.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. Stress is definitely a way to help them. It counters Advanced Cloaking Device. For
it counters Advanced Cloaking Device, and it slows them down. It gives you a chance to maybe get in there. Makes them predictable for at least a round or two, which
that's precious. Honestly.
Yes, you have to capitalize on it.
Yep.
I know we've been talking about the Phantom over and over and over again when it comes to Wave 4, but there are a lot of interesting Wave 4 ships. Specifically, I think the Z95 is a very points-efficient ship. Greg, have you seen any Z95 ships or lists that have impressed you recently?
I have, actually. It is a list that's being run in our Kansas City X-Wing League, but I'm a big fan of this list. One, because it is using a bunch of Zs, and two, because it's got Aaron Kraken in it, and that guy is awesome.
Yeah,
also,
he is
Phantom
awesome.
relevant, and we'll talk about that. But this list is Aaron Kraken with Swarm Tactics. It is 3 Bandit Squadron pilots, a Blue Squadron pilot, and a rookie. It's a lot of ships for starters. It's a decent amount of hit points. It's going to be tough to chew through all of that. Even if you're coming at it, like we've talked about with everything else, coming at it with Phantoms, he's at least going to have to shoot at a different ship every round to kill it. So that's handy. It's a lot of arcs to try and lock him down. But overall, what I like about this the most is the combination of Aaron Kraken and either of the heavy hitters, the rookie or the Blue Squadron pilot, particularly the Blue Squadron. If Aaron Kraken does something like during combat, after you perform an attack, you can choose another friendly ship at range 1, and that ship gets to take an action. So the Blue can now barrel roll into a better position, or barrel roll out of firing arcs to then deliver some punishment. If it gets Swarm Tactics up to 8, it delivers high pilot skill punishment. Let's say, for example, though, that you can barrel roll the Blue out of firing arcs. Now, there's no reason to Swarm Tactics the Blue. It's going to fire without, any kind of harassment. Now, you have this other rookie pilot that you could go ahead and Swarm Tactics. Either way you go, no matter what you do with those ships and handing out that action, one of your hard-hitting ships is getting Swarm Tactics up to an 8. It's an interesting combination.
It's also great for anti-Phantom, because if you can get that Blue to barrel roll an arc and then Swarm Tactics fire, it's pretty effective.
Absolutely.
Not to mention, even if just to get a Phantom in arc is difficult, and the ability to give that action away to get into arc is pretty good.
And maybe fire before advanced cloaking device can be triggered.
Yeah, that's the key right there, because it's an 8. Just getting, if you
anti-echo.
Yeah. The other thing is, one of the things I like about the Rebel Swarm is you don't have to fly them all together like you would with Hell Runner. You're not having to do that sort of packed formation flying. You almost want to keep a looser formation, especially if their opponent's running a Phantom, because you want to cover your flanks. You want to have at least a few guys shooting at them whenever you can.
The good thing about that, too, is not just for the Phantom, but we also have the Defender running around with its beautiful no-stress 4K turn.
Yeah,
and you have a lot more ships to put in its way and prevent any kind of K-turning like that from happening from that ship. Essentially cutting back on one of its major factors, on one of its big upsides.
Yes.
Well, I am really excited to see the Z95. We're going to cover some more E-Wings, and we're going to cover TIE Defenders and later casts, and we're all looking forward to hopefully doing this more often if, Greg and Scott can manage time for the Galactic Holonet and do, their important duties.
Gotta do my civic
for
duty.
the people.
Yeah.
For the people. The people need you.
For the Empire.
We're going to start a petition for the two of you to, have more free time. And thank God for the internet, because I'm sure they'll deliver that. Anyways, I'm really happy we got to do this. We're going to do this again. We are, Greg and I, and hopefully Scott as well, doing a commentary on a Sozin Twitch cast at some point soon.
Yeah.
We're really looking forward to doing that.
Definitely.
But yeah, exactly. But that's it for today for Greg, Joy, and Vengeance Duncan, and the one, the only Mr. Froggy Scott Williams. My name is Kelvin Tiberius, my name is Richard White.
What's my name?
Also known as Kelvin. I don't know what my name is anymore. But
say my name.
You for listening.
Say my name.
That's what Echo says every single
Oh.
day. This has been the Scum and Villainy podcast. Thank you, Galactic Colonet. We're back. We will be doing one of these again. Thank you.